हेलो एवरीवन। माय नेम इज़ दिव्यकुश एंड मुझे बताते हुए बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि एक सीरीज़ हम लेकर के आ रहे हैं एंड बहुत लोगों से डिस्कशन करने के बाद ये हुआ था कि एक्चुअली एक जीएस की सीरीज़ लेकर के आते हैं जिसमें कि आपका हिस्ट्री, एंशियंट हिस्ट्री, मिडिल हिस्ट्री, मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री कोशिश करते हैं एंड इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, एथिक्स वगैरह जितना भी जो जीएस का जो कंटेंट होता है that this we are going to provide you over in this channel, right? और हाँ, मुझे पता है कि एक्चुअली में दिस सीरीज इज़ नॉट गोइंग फॉर द एक्सप्लेनेशन बिकॉज बहुत सारी वीडियोस हैं एंड बहुत सारे सीनियर सीनियर टीचर्स हैं यहाँ पे जो पढ़ा रहे हैं इस मतलब यूट्यूब में ही। लेकिन एक ही है कि हाँ, बहुत सारे लोग ऐसा करते हैं कि ये सीरीज़ या कोई भी जब वीडियो जब पढ़ा रहा होता है तो उस वीडियोस को बस देख लेते हैं। दे लिटरली डोंट गो थ्रू द बुक्स, करेक्ट? कि बुक में क्या लिखा हुआ है, कैसे लिखा हुआ है, किस तरीके से आपको आंसर का फॉर्मेशन करना है, क्या क्या कीवर्ड्स हैं, क्या डेट्स वगैरह हैं। तो ये मैंने अपने मतलब बहुत ही लोगों से मैंने डिस्कस किया एंड उसका ये निकल के आया, मतलब जो समरी है कि दैट आई एम गोइंग टू रीड बुक्स फॉर यू एंड कुछ नहीं तो अगर आप वीडियो नहीं देख सकते तो प्लीज़ जस्ट लिसन दोस वीडियोज़ विच आई एम गोइंग टू अपलोड इट ओवर हियर। ठीक है? तो एक ये छोटा सा, बहुत ही छोटा सा मतलब इनिशिएटिव है मेरी तरफ से एंड अगर आप लोग नहीं बुक पढ़ पा रहे हैं तो बुक्स को अब आप सुन भी सकते हैं। बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो हैं वहाँ तो अब तो इंटरनेट पे क्या अवेलेबल नहीं है, ईच एंड एवरीथिंग इज़ अवेलेबल, करेक्ट? तो बस यही है। तो इसके रिगार्डिंग मतलब अभी मैंने मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री स्टार्ट किया हुआ है, जीएस का ही कंटेंट है जो कि आपके कॉम्पिटिटिव लेवल एग्ज़ाम्स का या जितने भी जो गवर्नमेंट एग्ज़ाम्स होते हैं उसके लिए बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। ठीक है? तो होप फॉर सो गुड। ठीक है? देखते हैं, आज मिलते हैं। ठीक है? आज का टॉपिक है हमारे पास यूनिट 1 सोर्सेस एंड अप्रोचेस। ठीक है? उसका चैप्टर 1 है सोर्सेस फॉर द हिस्ट्री ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडिया। सो वी आर गोइंग टू रीड लाइन बाय लाइन एंड वी विल अंडरस्टैंड। ठीक है? कोशिश करेंगे अपने एंड से। ठीक? सो an abundance of historical material is available for studying India from the mid 18th century to the mid 20th century. And in constructing the history of modern India, priority needs to be given to archives. Archives refers to a collection of historical records and documents, usually primary source documents, that is, those documents that have been created as a necessary part of some activities, administrative, legal, social, or the commercial. They are unique or the original documents, not concisely written or created to convey information to a future generation. An important part of archives relating to modern India are the official records, that is, the paper of government agencies at various levels. So, the records of the East India Company provide a detailed account of trading condition during the period of 1600 to 1857. When the British Crown took over the administration, it also kept a large variety and volume of official records. These records help historians to trace every important development stage by stage and follow the process of decision making and the psychology of the policymakers. The record of the other European East India companies, that is the Portuguese, Dutch, French, are also useful for constructing the history of the 17th and the 18th century. ठीक है? They are primarily important from the point of view of economic history, but much can be gathered from them about the political setup as well. There are also many contemporary and semi-contemporary works such as memories, biographies, and travel accounts, which give us interesting as well as useful glimpses into the history of the 18th century and early 19th century. Newspaper and journals made their appearances in the later part of the 18th century, and they provide very valuable information on almost all aspects of the Indian society, especially in the 19th and the 20th century. Other sources of modern Indian history include oral evidence, creative literature, and paintings. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है हमारे पास आर्चिवल मटेरियल. There are four categories of official records: central government archives, and second the state government archives, third record of intermediate and subordinate authorities, and fourth judicial records. Apart from these, there are private archives and archival sources available abroad. Next है central government archives. So the National Archives of India, located in New Delhi, contains most of the archives of the Government of India. These provide authentic and reliable source material on their aspects of modern Indian history. The record which the National Archives come under various groups representing different branches of the Secretariat at different stages of its development, and this happens as the work of the East India Company. As distribution among various branches, public or general, revenue, political, military, secret, commercial, judicial, education, etc., and a separate set of records was kept for each of these branches or departments. With the appointment of James Rennell as the first Surveyor General of the Bengal in 1767, the Survey of India began to scientifically map the unknown region of the country and its bordering lands. The record of the Survey of India, as well as the journals and memories of the surveyors, provide valuable information not only on geographical matters but also on contemporary socio-economic conditions and other important historical aspects. The proceedings of the public, judicial, and legislative departments provide ample data for studying the social and religious policies of the colonial government and the government's policies on education and the growth of the education system during the colonial rule are mentioned in the educational record of the Central Archives. The paper bearing on the emergence of the nationalist movement were part of the public series of the Home Department records, but in 1907, a new series of records, Home Political, was started to deal executively with political and communal issues. The record of the Reforms Office are very useful for an analytical study of the constitutional developments from 1920 to 1937. Archives of the state governments. The source material in the state archives comprise the record of first, the former British Indian provinces; second, the erstwhile princely states which were incorporated in the Indian Union after 1947; third, the foreign administration other than those of British. Apart from these, the records of those Indian power which were taken over by the British, for instance, the archives of the Kingdom of Lahore, popularly known as the Khasa Darbar record from 1800 to 1849, are important source material. Another important collection, the pre-British public archives in India is the Peshwa Daftar House in the Alienation Office, Pune. ठीक है? It forms the most valuable single source for the study of Maratha history for a period of almost a century before the fall of the Peshwas. For studying the history of the princely states of Rajasthan, जैसे कि जयपुर, बीकानेर, जोधपुर, उदयपुर, etc. The archives of these states now housed in Rajasthan State Archives at Bikaner are valuable. Similarly, the history of Dogra rule from 1846 in Jammu Kashmir can be studied in the valuable collection of state papers housed at Jammu. The other significant archives of the princely state are those of Gwalior, Indore, Bhopal, and Rewa, all in Madhya Pradesh, Travancore and Cochin in Kerala, Mysore in Karnataka, and Kolhapur in Maharashtra. Archives of three presidencies. The early record of Fort William's Bengal presidency were lost during the sack of Calcutta in 1756, but the archives of the Bengal presidency after the British victory at Plassey have survived more or less in a complete series, which are partially available in the National Archives of India and partially in the State Archives of West Bengal. The record of the Madras Presidency begin from 1670 and include record of the Governor and Council of Fort St. George. In these records, there is plenty of information bearing on the rise of the English East India Company as a political power in the south and in the Deccan, including the Anglo-French struggle and the English conflicts with other Indian powers. The archives of Bengal Presidency, housed in the Maharashtra Secretariat Record Office, Mumbai, are extremely useful in studying the history of Western India, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Sindh, and the Kannada-speaking district of the erstwhile Bombay Presidency, which were incorporated in Mysore in 1956. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है ये archives of other European powers. ठीक. The archives related to the Portuguese preserved in Goa, mainly belonging to the period from the 1700 to 1900, are valuable for the history of Portuguese possessions in India. The orders and dispatches from Lisbon received in Goa and the responses and reports dispatched from India to Portugal constitute the most significant historical material among the Portuguese archives. The Dutch record of Cochin and Malabar are in the Madras Record Office and those of Chinsura in the State Archive of West Bengal. The French archives of Chandanagore and Pondicherry, now Puducherry, were taken to Paris by the French authorities before they relinquished these settlements. The archives of the Danish possessions were also transferred to Copenhagen. Copenhagen. When the Danes sold Tranquebar and Serampore to the English East India Company in 1845, the remaining Danish record mainly related to Tranquebar 1777 to 1845 are now housed in the Madras Record Office. Hmm? नेक्स्ट है हमारे पास जुडिशियल रिकॉर्ड्स. ठीक है, हाउस इन द मैड्रास रिकॉर्ड ऑफिस द आर्चीव ऑफ द मेयर्स कोर्ट ऑफ सेंट जॉर्ज beginning from AD 1689 are the earliest available judicial archives, and the pre-Plassey records of the Mysore court at Fort Williams have been lost, but those for the years 1757 to 73 are kept in the record room of the Calcutta High Court, along with the archives of the Supreme Court of Bengal 1774 to 1861. Similarly, the records of the Mayor's Court at Bombay, established in 1728, are available in the Maharashtra Secretariat Record Office, which also has the custody of the archives of the Bombay Recorders Court and the Supreme Court. Apart from containing the proceedings and minutes, this category of records contain copies of wills, probates, and letters of administration, which are useful for genealogical studies and for investigation pertaining to the state of society and economic condition in the respective regions. नेक्स्ट टॉपिक हमारे पास पब्लिश्ड आर्chives. ठीक है, द मोस्ट the most significant archival publications are the parliamentary papers, which include many excerpts from the records of the India East Company and the Government of India and the Crown. The reports of the parliamentary relate committee various royal commissions constitute on specific subjects like the education, civil reforms, and famines, and the parliamentary debates on the Indian Empire are indispensable. The proceedings of the Indian and provincial legislatures, the weekly gazettes published by the central and the provincial governments, and collections of laws and regulations issued from time to time also serve as useful source material for historical research. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट है हमारे पास प्राइवेट आर्chives. Private archives comprise paper and documents of individual and families of notes who played a significant role in the development of modern India, and the paper of eminent leaders of the nationalist movement and the records of the organization like the Indian National Congress are housed in the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library in New Delhi. The archives of banks, business houses, and chambers of commerce are extremely helpful in the study of economic changes. Hmm? नेक्स्ट टॉपिक हमारे पास फॉरेन रिपोजिटरीज. A vast body of historical material related to the history of modern India is available in the repositories of erstwhile imperialist power who ruled in different parts of the Indian subcontinent as well as in the some other countries. In England, the Indian Office records, London, and the records kept in the British museums are very valuable. The Indian Office records possesses various important documents. The minute of the courts of directors and the general court of the East India Company and various committees constituted from time to time. The minutes and correspondence of the Board of Control of Board of Commissioners for the Affairs of India, and the records of the Secretary of State and the Indian Council. The British Museum possesses collections of the paper of British Viceroys, Secretaries of States, and other high-ranked civil and military officials who were posted in India. The archives of the missionary societies, for instances, of the Church Missionary Society of London, provide insight into the education and social development in pre-independence India. Hmm? The archives of National Paris and the archives of the French ministries of foreign affairs, colonies, and war have records that throw light on the history of French possessions as well as the socio-political conditions. The record of the Dutch East India Company is available in Rich Richardschiff, बाप रे क्या नाम है चलिए The Hague, and that of the Danish and the Portuguese are kept in Copenhagen and Lisbon respectively. Apart from the archives of the European nations, the archives preserved in Pakistan are of utmost importance. The West Pakistan Record Office, Lahore Record Office, Peshawar records available in Sindh, etc., and give information about the regional history of the Indian subcontinent. Besides shedding light on India's relations with Afghanistan, Iran, and other neighboring countries in the colonial. Next topic है biographies, memories, and travel accounts. Many travelers, traders, missionaries, and civil servants who came to India have left accounts of their experiences and their impressions of various parts of India. An important group among these writers were that of the missionaries who wrote to encourage their respective societies to send more missionaries to India for the purpose of evangelizing its inhabitants. In this genre, Bishop Heber's journals and Abbe Dubios' Hindu Manners and Customs provide useful information on the socio-economic life of India during the period of decline of the Indian powers and the rise of the British. Some of the famous British travelers who wrote travel accounts were George Foster's Benjamin Hine, James Burner, narrative of a visit to the court of Sindh, Alexander Burner's travels into Bukhara, C.J.C. Davidson, Diary of the Travels and Adventure in Upper India, and John Butler, Travels and Adventure in the province of Assam. Famous non-British travelers who wrote about India include Victor Jacquemont, Letters from India describing a journey in the British dominions of India, Tibet, Lahore, and Kashmir during the year 18282, 1829 to 1831. Baron Charles travels in Kashmir and the Punjab, and William Moorcroft. These travel accounts are indispensable and generally reliable sources for constructing the history of modern India, especially as they supplement the official papers. Next topic है newspaper and journals. Newspaper and journals of the 19th and the 20th century published in English as well as in the different vernacular languages form an important and authentic source of information for the construction of the history of modern India. The first attempt to publish newspaper in India were made by the disgruntled employees of the English East India Company who sought to expose the malpractices of private trade. For instance, in 1776, William Botts, being censured by the Court of Directors for private trading, resigned from the company and announced his intention to publish a newspaper. The official response to Botts' scheme was strong and his plan ended before materializing. In 1780, James Augustus Hickey published the first newspaper in India entitled the Bengal Gazette or Calcutta Journal Advisor. Hickey's press was seized within 2 years, owing to his outspoken criticism of government officials, and afterwards many publications appeared, such as the Calcutta Gazette 1784, the Madras Courier 1788, the Bombay Herald 1789. The newspaper and journals of the early period primarily aimed at catering to the intellectual entertainment of the Europeans and Anglo-Indians. From the second half of the 19th century, many powerful newspapers appeared, edited or published by distinguished and fearless journalists. Interestingly, nearly one third of the founding father of the Indian National Congress in 1885 were journalists. Some of their publications were the Hindu and Swadesh Mitran, under the editorship of G. Subramania Iyer, Kesari, and Maharat under Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bengali under Surendranath Banerjee, Amrita Bazar Patrika under the Shishir Kumar Ghosh and Motilal Ghosh, Sudharak under Gopal Ganesh Agarkar, Indian Mirror under N.N. Sen, Voice of India under Dadabhai Naroji, Hindustan and Advocate under G.P. Verma, The Tribune and Akbare M in Punjab, Indu Prakash, Dhyan Prakash, Kal in Gujarati in Bombay, and Som Prakash Banganivasi and Sadha Rani, Sadha Rani in Bengal. बहुत टफ टफ नेम है, मतलब बिल्कुल वैसे लिखे हुए ना नॉर्मल हिंदी वाले शब्द हैं ये. Sada Rani in Bengal were other noted newspaper of the time. Indian nationalists and revolutionaries living abroad published newspaper and journals. Indian socialists, London, Shyamji, Krishna Varma, Bande Mataram, Paris, Madam Kama, Talwar, Berlin, Virendra Nath Chattopadhyay, and Gadar, San Francisco, Lala Hardayal, to infuse a feeling of nationalism among Indians living abroad. Newspaper depict almost all aspects of life in colonial India from around the 1870 onwards. From the 1920s onwards, newspaper tracked the major events during the freedom struggle. However, newspaper accounts cannot be seen as unprejudiced or completely objective. The accounts that were published in a newspaper in London by the pro-British Raj people were bound to be different from the report in an Indian nationalist newspaper. नेक्स्ट है हमारे पास टॉपिक ओरल एविडेंस. Oral history refers to the construction of history with the help of non-written sources, for instance, personal reminiscences. Oral sources allow historians to broaden the boundaries of their discipline and corroborate their findings from other sources of history. However, many historians remain skeptical of the veracity of oral history. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट है हमारे पास क्रिएटिव लिटरेचर टॉपिक है. The most significant outcome of the Indo-European contact was a literary genre of the novel which emerged in the later half of the 19th century. The first important writer of that period was the Bengali novelist Bankim Chand Chatterjee 1838 से 94 तक. अच्छा, ऐसा मतलब करूँगा ना, ऐसे करके तो आप समझ जाइएगा कि मतलब ये जो चीज़ है ये ब्रैकेट में लिखी हुई है, मतलब जो मेन कॉन्टेक्स्ट के जो आउट ऑफ उसमें होता है वो चीज ब्रैकेट में लिखी हुई है. तो मैं ऐसे कर दूंगा तो आप थोड़ा सा समझ जाइएगा. His novels are mostly historical. The best known among them being Anand Math 1882, noted for its powerful lyrics Vande Mataram, and depicted of the Sannyasi Revolt 1760, and his last novel Rajasimha can be called the grand finale to his remarkable career. Ishram Suryaram Desai 1853 से 1912 was a fine scholar of medieval Gujarati literary history. His first novel Hind in Britannia was one of the earliest Indian novels with political overtone. Tamil writers like Girja Devi and Ramatirth Mal, who wrote Mohan Rajani 1931 and Dashikalin Mosavalai 1936 respectively, also made the novel an effective vehicle of social experience. G.V. Krishna Rao's Kilu Bomalu, The Puppet 1956 in Telugu was concerned with the more aspects and behavior of the rural people. Wacom Muhammad Bashir 1910 to 1994 was one of the eminent writer in the Malayalam, whose famous novel Balya Kalasaki, The Childhood Friends 1944 was a tragic tale of love. Similarly, Takashi Shiva Shankara Pillai became prominent for his two extremely well-written works in Malayalam, Tottiyudu Makan, son of a scavenger 1948 and Chimney Shrimps 1956. Despite having a different educational backgrounds and social outlooks, all these writers shared a strong sense of realism and deep interest in the life of the marginalized and oppressed section of the society. These novels give a picture of the social milieu of the days they relate to. ठीक है. Next topic है painting. Some information on the socio-economic, political, and cultural life during the colonial period can be obtained from the painting of that period. The company painting, also referred as Patna Kalam, ठीक है, Patna Kalam, emerged under the patronage of the East India Company. They picturizes the people and scenes as they existed at that time. Trade, festival, dance, and the attire of people are visible in these works. Company paintings continued to be popular in the 19th century until the introduction of photography in India in the 1840. The pictorial images produced by the British and Indians paintings, pencil drawings, etchings, 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 आप देख लीजिएगा क्या बोलते हैं इसको. ठीक है. पोस्टर्स, कार्टून्स एंड बाजार प्रिंट्स आर स्पेशली इंपॉर्टेंट रिकॉर्ड ऑफ द ग्रेट रिवोल्ट ऑफ 1857. The British pictures offer images that were meant to provoke a range of different emotions and reactions. Some of them commemorate the British heroes who saved the English and repressed the rebels. Relief of Lucknow, painted by Thomas Jones Barker in 1859, is one such example. Another painting of this period, in memoriam by Joseph Noel Paton, recorded in painting 2 years of the revolt of 1857. One can see English women and children huddled in a circle, looking helpless and innocent, seemingly waiting for the inevitable dishonor, violence, and death. These paintings of the mutiny period are important for the historians to interpret and understand the worldview of the British and the Indians regarding this major event. Kalighat painting that came to the fore in Calcutta in the 19th century depicted not only mythological figures but also ordinary people engaged in their everyday life. The later pictures captured the social changes taking place in the Calcutta of the time. These paintings made a comment on social evils of the time. Some of these paintings satirized certain modes adopted by the people of the time. In the last decades of the 19th century, a new art movement emerged which received its primary stimulus from the growing nationalism in India. Artists like Nandlal Bose and Raja Ravi Verma were representative of this new trend. In the rise of the Bengali school led by Abhindranath Tagore, nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, E.B. Howells, who joined the art school in Calcutta as principal, and Anand Kentish Kumaraswamy, son of an important Tamil political leader in Sri Lanka, played a vital role. Through many of the paintings of this new trend primarily focused on themes of Indian mythology and cultural heritage. They are important sources for studying the modern art movement in India and for the art historians.